So that's what we do. We come out here and we do these lessons, man. It's doing the work. Call all you lie. So let's prove. Let's prove it. Let's go to 2 Maccabees. Let's go to 2 Maccabees, man. And then we'll go back to Lamentations. 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees Chapter 6. Yeah, we're going to do it, man. 2 Maccabees Chapter 6. And I want to start at 2 Maccabees Chapter 6. And I'm going to go to verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for our destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. So we got sent over here for a chastening. When your child get out of order, what do? You chastise him. Huh? Call on you like man. Verse 13. For it is a token of his great goodness. A token means, guess what? That's going into a prophecy. Huh? That's going into his will as well. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long. When wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they become to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. Verse 15, lest that being coming to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. So at the end of the day, man, guess what? Bottom line is, guess what? He dealt the same way you deal with your child. That's the same way he did with us. Because what? I'm going to come back. Let's go to, I believe that's Exodus. I believe that's Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So Israel is who? Let's get that. Israel is who? Let's get that. Israel is who? Let's get that. Who is Israel? Because I start off my lessons every time with the same intro. Israel is who? In the Paleo Hebrew, which is your native tongue, which is the holy tongue, Israel. Yasher Allah, the 12 tribes. You are Yasher Allah. Yah meaning he. Yah meaning he. Shara, Allah, Prince of the Power, man. I ain't breaking down the best way, but guess what? If you get the picture. Call Allah, let's continue. Let's continue. So guess what? He dealt with his firstborn. You can come on through, sir. It's not a problem. You ain't got to go that way. You can walk straight through here. You ain't in my way. It don't matter. Yeah, so Israel, or Yasharallah, is his firstborn. So he dealt with us like a child. Now, let's go back to Lamentations. And I ain't forgot about Matthew to bring my point around. Call Allah for this truth, man. Call Allah Ba'Shem Yahushua for this truth. Why are people still walking around here in gross darkness, man? And it's a great penalty for that. Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 6. We have given the hand to the Egyptians. Who is Egyptian today? The Egyptian is synonymous or a code word with Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He is the Egyptian today. Because guess what? When you go into the back of when you go in the back of your dollar bill, you have what? You have an Egyptian pyramid on there, and you have an eagle. That Egyptian pyramid shows you what? That Egyptian pyramid is the first captivity of Israel, Yasharallah, and the eagle represents what? The last captivity of Yasharallah, which will be none other than Babylon the Great, America, man. Call Allah, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Let's continue, man. Let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. The water, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, for this truth, man. The water for your word, man. And anybody who ain't down with that, man, guess what, man? Hey, you deserve everything coming down the pipe, baby. Let's continue. We have Lamentations 5 and 6. We have given a hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians. That's synonymous with each other. Because guess what? You can go into Isaiah chapter 10, verse 5 and 6. The so-called white man Esau, Edom is the rod of his anger, the Assyrian, to be satisfied with bread. So meaning, guess what? We dependent on them. Because we just read what? In the 5th chapter, we labor and have no rest. So we slaving for these people at Burger King. You slaving for them at the post office. You slaving on them. Because guess what? The more and more hours you put in, you still can't get what you want out here. You ain't living their so-called American dream. These scriptures is deadly, man. Verse 7. Our fathers have sinned and are not. We have borne their iniquities. What is that going to? That's showing you that you are your forefathers. Because guess what? If you weren't the forefathers, why are you bearing their sins? If you're not the children of those people or the children of Israel, why are you bearing the sins of them? Wouldn't you be innocent? The way Esau Edom teaches you, let's get something real quick. Let's get some edification. Job chapter 4. Let's prove something though. Job chapter 4, verse 7. Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? What does that mean? Ain't nobody innocent out here. Proving what? Everybody you see today is an ancient spirit in a new house or a new body, a new vessel. That's why little kids, that's why the baby getting thrown over the bridge. That's why kids is dying in a car wreck or so-called. That's why they get molested. Read that again. Job 4 and verse 7. Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished, being innocent. Or where were the righteous cut off? Because if you was righteous, you wouldn't be cut off by Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Because guess what? He's perfect. He's nothing but righteous. Verse 8. Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity. So if you plow something, you're putting in the work. Iniquity means sin upon sin. If I'm plowing, I'm putting in work. So that means those who plow iniquity, who continue, and sow wickedness, when you plow something and then you sow it, guess what? You putting it in the ground, reap the same. So now let's go back. Now let's go back to Lamentations. Prayerfully, that's edifying for you. Lamentations, chapter 5, and verse 7 again. Our fathers have sinned and are not. We have borne their iniquities. Yeah, you are your father. We are our forefathers. We was going off then. We still going off now. And I believe that's what? Jeremiah 7:25 tell you, you did worse than your fathers. Let's get that real quick. Even until this day, let's get that real quick. Call Layim La Yahweh Shem Yahushua for this truth, man. Is that it? Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Jeremiah chapter 7. I'm going to start at verse 25. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, because you so-called Negroes, Latino, and Native Americans are the same people who came out the land of Egypt, man. Ancient Egypt with Pharaoh. You built them pyramids over there. So-called white man ain't tell you that. You ain't had no damn construction. You ain't had no cranes, did you? You ain't had no cranes over there, did you? Yeah, you ain't had no construction crew over there, did you? Proving what? That's the same reason. That's the same way you know how to make a damn syrup sandwich. But guess what? Our people mind don't work that big. It don't work like that. You can't understand that. You can't understand that.
It work like that.
Yeah, it don't work like that. You can't equivalent a syrup sandwich with building the pyramids, man. You found a way to make something eat, to make a entree out of syrup and bread. Yeah, you always found you are MacGyver. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American was given something. You have a spirit like no other. You had a spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You are the literal bloodline of who the world calls God and Jesus Christ. But you don't want that though. What you want? What do you want for real? What do you want for real? Pork stir fry. That's what you want. Let's continue. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day, I have sent unto you all my servants the prophets. That's going into what? I kept bringing them back to you. I kept bringing them back to you. Reincarnation. Daily rising up early and sending them. Verse 26. Yet they hearken not unto me. You still don't listen, man. Nor incline their ear, but harden their necks. Our people do not want to hear it, man. Our people, that's a marvelous work by Yahweh Shem Yahushua to put that spiritual veil on you that you can't even see what's obvious to the next people. They did worse than their fathers. So we doing worse now than back then. How are you doing that? You're going to get your body done? Sex changes? Huh? 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 How is you doing it? You going to abort your children left and right? Huh? Are women prostituting themselves? Huh? What else? How else you doing it? Are the young men is gangsters and dope boys? Soon as they able to add, subtract, and multiply? Huh? So now, Jeremiah 7:27. Therefore thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, but they will not answer thee. Verse 28. But thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Their power. A gun ain't your power. Esau Edom's lies in his books ain't your power. His dollar ain't your power. It's the God of the heavens and the earth. It's the God who created the heaven and the earth. This is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their power, nor receiving correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth. Because you done swallowed Esau Edom whole, man. So now I can go back. I done win, man. The water for this truth, man. Whoever gonna get it, they're gonna be edified, Lord willing. Because guess what? 1 Corinthians 3, around the 5th and 6th chapter, saying Apollos water, and planted. I'm paraphrasing that. I know I'm butchering that. I've brung it out before. But Yahweh Shem Yahushua gonna get an increase, man. Meaning what? Hey, he gonna do his will with it. Let's continue. Lamentations 5 verse 8. Servants have ruled over us. Let's prove that the so-called white man and the rest of the nations are servants. Let's prove that. Let's prove that the so-called white man and the other nations are servants according to the Bible. Watch this. Ecclesiastes chapter 10. And we're going to start at verse 6 for edification. Folly is set in great dignity. So all the garbage that our people over here are doing, that's set in great dignity. Folly is the root word of foolishness, man. It's set in great dignity. That's esteem. That's esteem. As the potter's clay. Isaiah 29:16, Lord willing. I believe. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. Who are the rich? Those who was given the covenant, mainly those who have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Because I believe that's Ecclesiastes chapter 2, in verse 5, it said what? Let me get it. I ain't gonna butcher nothing. I don't want to butcher nothing, even though I just did call out. Ecclesiastes chapter 2 and verse 4. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. So the rich who are low, who are on that low estate, is those who have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You are at the low. You are in the low estate. You are the rich that are in a low place. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes. Let me read Ecclesiastes 2 and 5 just for edification. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So you got to go through adversity and fire to be worthy of Yahweh Shem Yahushua with this truth, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Huh? Because look at this. Look what Esau Edom out here doing. They the ones running around here. But they telling you what? What they telling you? What is these people telling you? Guess what? God loves everybody. Jesus loves everybody. Let us ball on you out here. We're going to ride around and do everything. And then after that, you got to die and go up in the spiritual world with them and float around with them. And then that's when you're going to get your reward. It don't even make sense, man. It don't even make sense, man. Huh? Huh? While they balling on you in real life. Let me say that the right way, because I don't want nobody to get that misconfused. I don't want nobody to get that misconstrued. I ain't saying the spirit world ain't real life. I'm talking about here in this mortal flesh. Let's continue. Going back to Ecclesiastes, man. Ecclesiastes chapter 10. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 6 again, because we proving what? Who was that servant? Who was that servant in Lamentations, the 5th chapter, who we serving? Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 6. Folly is set in great dignity, and a rich sit in a low place. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Up there in New York, I think that was a statue of Roosevelt, a Theodore Roosevelt, that they tore down in front of that museum, because Job tells you what? I think it's the 20th chapter tell you what? He gonna try to treat his children shall try to please the poor. Huh? His children shall seek to please the poor. Matter of fact, I read it last night. So that statue has what? Theodore Roosevelt was on a thoroughbred horse. You had a so-called Negro on one side, and you had a Gadite or Indian, so-called Indian on the other side. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. And we just read in Lamentations, the 5th chapter, that we over here in servitude. We read in Baruch, the 3rd chapter, that we still in our captivity. We was reading in Matthew. I started off there too. And Lord willing, I get back there, but I'm going through the spirit. Now, Ecclesiastes 10 and 8 though, but this was coming to him though. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. And whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. Huh? Whoso removeth stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. If the iron be blunt, and he do not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. Surely the serpent will bite thee without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. Who is the fool? Who is the fool? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is the fool, and the ones who are joined unto him. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? The labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. Verse 16, woe to thee, O land. Woe means destruction. When thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. Esau, Edom is what? Let's get that real quick. Isaiah, and we'll come back to that. I ain't left Lamentations. Lord willing, I ain't left Matthew. Isaiah chapter 3. And I'm going to start. Isaiah chapter 3, I'm going straight to the point. Verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors. Children are their oppressors. Ecclesiastes just said, the 10th chapter we just read said, woe to the land when thy king is a child. As for my people, Israel is his firstborn. We read that in Exodus 4 and 22. As for my people, children are their oppressors. So Esau, Edom is a damn child. How do we know he's a child? He the one bungee jumping. He the one came up with a damn amusement park. He the one on YouTube Grown-ass men doing pranks and shit. Huh? Call on you like y'all about Shem Yahushua. These scriptures is deadly, man. It ain't nothing but the truth. And John 8:32 tell you what? The truth shall set you free. Call I am like about Shem Yahushua. As for my people, children are the oppressors, who are oppressing the children of Israel. The so-called white man Esau, Edom, and everybody up under him, the other heathen nations. And women rule over them. Because guess what? Jeremiah 6:2 compared us to a comely and delicate woman. We betray Yahweh Shem Yahushua, so he put our women against us. Women rule over them. Oh, my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the ways of thy path. So Esau, Edom, and Eve, the nigger woman, and so-called white men or women lead and destroy us, man. Cause us to err. Because guess what? 2/3 of our people are locked in with Esau, Edom, and his philosophies. And then the other, and then also, the rest of our men is done what? You put your strength into a woman. The Punani leading you to WAP. Call Layim La, which all leads to destruction. So now, with that being established, I'm gonna go right back to Ecclesiastes chapter 10. Ecclesiastes chapter 10. And verse 16 again. Woe to thee, O land. What land is that? Babylon the Great. And every other land where our people are scattered. But mainly Babylon the Great. The good old Make America Great Again, MAGA. Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child and thy princes eat in the morning. Because when you break down the word breakfast, it means what? Break fast. You want to eat no damn. Our people want to eat it. You want a sausage. You want a sausage, egg, and cheese from White Castles, don't you? You want a sausage and egg McMuffin? Yeah, Esau Edom did what? He set up a whole society contrary to your history and your laws and your statutes, man. The word of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So now, with that being made, prayerfully you got the edification on that. Prayerfully. Let's continue. I'm going back to Lamentations. Going back to Lamentations. Going back to Lamentations. Lamentations 5 and 8. Servants have ruled over us. We just dealt with it in Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter and the 7th verse. There is none that doth deliver us out of their hand. Yeah, because who is the deliverer? Yahushua. Yah meaning he, Yahushua the deliverer. Yahushua. He delivers or saves because he the one who puts you in it, man. Huh? Call on you like Yahweh Shem Yahushua by Shem Rakakudash. So now I can go back to Matthew. Now I can go back to Matthew. Now I can go back to Matthew. Chapter 9. Matthew 9. And I believe it's 36. I mean, I done lost, boy. Matthew 9 and 35. And Yahushua went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom. That's where I went. I went into Isaiah 65. I went into Isaiah 65, but I'm going to read this anyway. Preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. Verse 36, but when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherds. We ain't got no shepherds. What we do now, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua raised up the laborers. That's what we about to get into. Then said he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. So the more and more our men are waking up around, who are hearing this true doctrine, and who are imparted with this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, the more laborers is coming in. I'm one of the new laborers. Call Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And prayerfully he do what? Keep his spirit upon me. Matthew 9 and 37. Then said he unto his disciples, the harvest is truly plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into our harvest. And that's exactly what he's doing. Because every day around the earth, you got new laborers getting built up in the spirit. It's a lucky if I got beaten off the path. But guess what? I'm going through the spirit, man, and the power of Yahweh the way he leads me, man. It ain't a me, man. It ain't a me. It's a him. Because he did what? Because he did what? 1 Samuel chapter 23. Salaki. The 2 Samuel. Sometimes we get it confused. 2 Samuel chapter 23. I'm going to start at verse 1. Now these be the last words of David. David, the son of Jesse, said, and a man who raised up on high the anointed of the Most High of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel said, the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. So that's the reason whatever I'm bringing up, his words is in my tongue, man. It ain't me. It ain't me. I can't boast in nothing. None of the men can boast in nothing. Because the same way he could put that spirit on you, he could take it off of you, man. That's what's wrong with a lot of these brothers that's out here doing this work, man. You know? And we in these chains of darkness, so we all fall short. But we got to acknowledge that. We got to acknowledge that sometimes we get prideful. Sometimes we get caught up in things, man. You know? Let me get something real quick. Because I really started off, Salaki. I started off going into us being in our captivity and the prisoners and the captives. Let's prove who the prisoners and the captives is. Even though I know we already went through it, let's get another precept though. Isaiah chapter 51 and verse 14. The captive exile hasteneth that he may be loosened, and that he should not die in the pit, nor that his bread should fail. Well, who is the captive exile and what is the pit? The pit is none other than right here in Babylon the Great. The captive exile is none other than you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of Negroid and indigenous descent who don't realize that you still to this day in the land of your captivity. Huh? Because Edom don't want to do what? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14. And I want to go to verse 17 is the point. Isaiah 14 and verse 17. Esau Edom, talking about Esau Edom, the so-called white man that made the world as wilderness. Because everywhere these damn devils go, they bring what? Disease, destruction, death, plagues, philosophies. Everything about the so-called white man is as death. You can read about that in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, around the 5th verse. You can read about it in what? Salaki. Matter of fact, we're going to get it in Revelations. We're going to get that. The pale horse. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 17. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. Who is his prisoners? You that are still in the day of your captivity. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You came over here as what? Cargo on slave ships. Let's get that in Isaiah the 22nd chapter. Let's get that. Let's get that. Isaiah chapter 22 and verse 17. Isaiah chapter 22 and verse 17. Behold, the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua will carry thee away with a mighty captivity, and will surely cover thee. Who? When you go through so-called world history, who is synonymous with a mighty captivity. You Negroes, Edom rarely tells you about the northern kingdom being taken into slavery, because you Negroes are the Jews of the Bible. You will be considered Judah, the kingdom of Judah. You know, you so-called Negroes of the Americas, the West Indies, and the Caribbean and Haiti, and Canada, and Jerusalem, or Israel will be considered what? The northern kingdoms, the Latino and the Native American tribes. So with you being Judah, with you so-called Negroes being Judah, Judah being the top tribe, you are the most despised. So guess what? They had to cover you up first. They had to cover you up first. They had to cover us up first. You had to be called color, Native African American, Negro, Black, African, Moor. Huh? Behold, the Lord will carry thee away with a mighty captivity, and will surely cover thee. He will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. How will you surely violently turn and toss like a ball into a large country? Let's get a visual aid for that. Let's get a visual aid for that. What is these? That's how these cargo slave ships look. Here you go. You was tight packed. So when them waves roughing and war, what you think you was doing when your people was stacked on top of each other like damn like dominoes, man? Shitting and pissing on each other. Huh? Menstrual blood. Kids died. People died and they still chained up to you. Can you imagine what them smells was like? That's why in Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter, he tell you what? You have no remembrance